Good morning, everyone, and welcome to At Home with Hayley. As you can see, I'm not at home this morning due to broadband issues, but we are very much looking forward to giving you a great show this morning. We have an awesome guest, and we have a very in-depth update for you as well. So before we get started, if I can see that people are coming through, if you can let me know if you can hear me loud and clear in the chat box. Morning, Laura. Let us know where you're calling in from as well, so our guest knows what part of the world you are from. It is very much a global event at Home with Hayley. I think we're on about our 43rd or 44th episode now, so not going too bad considering we only actually started At Home with Hayley to cover the first ever lockdown that we had, and it was supposed to be 12 weeks. So thank you everybody for listening in. It's been a huge success, and we love sharing our Fridays with you. Right, so everybody's saying good morning. We've got Jonathan from Cambridge. We've got Magnus. I'm not sure where you're from, Magnus. Maybe pop in the chat box. We've got Laura from Australia. Hi, Samuel. We've got Lindsay. That's my twin sister. She's from Birmingham. Lovely to see you, Lindsay. So we're going to get started. So I can see that everybody's coming through. You can all hear me loud and clear. So our first guest this morning, or our only guest, and we only need one of Pieter. He's a very, very special guest. And some of you may actually remember him from actually 1 year ago. So exactly a year ago, he was on this show. So today we have Pieter from HYPE. Pieter, are you there?
I am.
Can you
hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you.
Oh. Hi, TV people!
So for those of you that watched us 12 months ago, Pieter is a bit of a live wire. I am going to put a disclaimer in at this moment in time for your Freedom Empire. Anything that is seen within this episode, I am not taking responsibility for, but fun we will most certainly have. And so, Pieter, thank you ever so much for joining us again. I know that we've got an awesome show in whenever you're on with us. So while I upload your slides, why don't you tell our viewers a little bit about yourself and what you're really going to be covering off this morning and why?
Right, yeah, well, good morning, everybody. My name is Pieter, as Hayley has said, and we're based in Stoke-on-Trent. We're a company called HYPE, and within HYPE, we have HYPE Buildings, which is looking at renovations. We've got sourcing and we've got lettings. So the idea is to have it all full circle, so that if we source you a property, we then renovate it for you and then let it. So it's all in-house. So you don't have headaches with it's a sourcing agent finding you the right builder, and then somehow you need to through the sourcing agent you need to find the right lettings agent. That's one issue. That's one plus point. The other thing is also, if you, as a lettings agent, obviously, if a house gets lived in, there's maintenance issues always. But 2 months down the line, I can't call you up as an investor and say, I've got a maintenance issue with the plumbing or the electrics, because we did the refurb. So the work that we push out has got to be on point. Otherwise, we're going to have unhappy customers.
So what you're saying, Pieter, is you deliver a one-stop shop, basically.
That's right.
A turnkey service.
One-stop shop.
Yeah, brilliant. And that's very much what we, why we like you, why we introduce you to our internationals, because everything is done in-house. And it does give you that peace of mind, because sourcing agents that are going to be doing the project management, it's an in-house build team, and then they are managing letting that property at the back end. They do tend
I just think on that, I just need to say that normally, the sourcing agent is also the project manager. Normally, I'm not saying it happens all the time, but they're the guy or the person that keeps an eye on the project. But with us, that's not the case, because everything is in-house. The sourcing agent is just the sourcing agent.
Yeah.
And then we've got a project manager that's just the building, and then we've got just the lettings. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
brilliant.
it's three separate, yeah.
Yeah, that's great. So I'm not going to take any more of your time. You've got your slides. Do you have access to it? Everybody in the chat box, I'm not sure if you can see, is taking the mick out of me because I've successfully uploaded your slides without any technical issues in the end. So high five to me. But I'm going to hand it over to you.
Okay.
And take it away. I'm here in the background if you need me.
Thank you. Right. So the one thing that I think is quite useful to talk about at the moment is the issues that are currently within the market, and that it has got a direct influence or effect on you guys as investors. But luckily, you know, there are people like us that are out there, and obviously we're not the only company. There's loads of other companies that does give a good service. And but yeah. So, as we said, we've got HYPE Invest, HYPE Building and HYPE Lettings. And then further along the line, we've got plans to bring it all together with something called HYPE HQ. So we'll have a massive building and, you know, neon lights and blimps in the sky and all sorts of stuff like that. But anyway, so that's just a little bit. So HYPE Invest, Buildings and Lettings, that's just showing the whole lifespan of the investor from start to finish. When you sign on with us. So what are the current issues? As you can see here, this was a photograph of one of the projects that we're busy with. Please remember this slide because you'll see what it became later on as we go along. So I've got full sort of different topics where there's issues at the moment. The first one is like project management, like the project lead time issues that are there at the moment. And the first one is projects that takes longer because trades have got too much work on. Obviously, trades, it's very rare for them to say that they will not take any work on. So they will take anything on because they don't know if they've got work tomorrow. So if they take on work, they will always, whether they've got enough work or too much work, it doesn't matter. They'll always take on more. And that is, as a project manager, you know, our responsibility to make sure that these guys are doing what we contract them to do. So that's that. And later on, at the moment, I'm just going to give all the issues, and later on, I'll tell you how we as a company try to overcome them. There's too many city builders around, and that's really messing up everything. It's incredible some of the workmanship that we see for some of the properties that we go to where building regulations wasn't met or no architect was involved, and it's an absolute mess. We've seen chimneys being taken out with no proper support. This for the wall, or you know, if a chimney's only been taken out halfway, some of the work we've seen is very, very dangerous. And then also COVID has forced people to stay at home, and they had to reevaluate. Now, why that is an issue on project management is because of the first two points that I've made there, is because for me as a project manager, I now need to, I almost want to say I need to vet my clients, because some people just want quotes. I normally are the guy that goes out to go and quote for jobs, and I need to make a decision on the spot there. How much time do I give somebody? Because what we found a lot is that Bill and Jean, sorry if you Bill and Jean, have now worked in their kitchen for the last year and a half, and they think it's time for an office because it works for them to work from home. They don't quite have the money, but they're just interested to know how much it's going to cost. And then that is another, that spending that hour and a half with them, it's a lot of time to give in a day. If you've got to do 3 or 4 quotes a day to give to people, if nothing comes back, if that makes sense. And then also, I put it in there, stamp duty relief for buyers has always had it's also had an issue, because a lot of people are now has jumped in, buy property, but they don't think about necessarily the builder or their power team, as you know, as they're called, and we literally get calls from people saying, "Listen, I bought this house. I want to know if you can do the refurb." Okay, sure. When do you want us to start? Well, next week would be great, because I'm on bridging finance and I really need this project to start. And obviously, that is a big no-no. You know, it puts everybody under pressure, and so that's another problem that we had to overcome. Material costs. This for us has probably been the biggest hurdle to overcome, because there's a lack of suppliers, there's a lack of materials. On the right-hand side, you guys can see there, in the last couple of months, really, how material costs have shot up. It's incredible. At one point, we couldn't fit any windows or doors because it's made from plastic. It's called UPVC. And we really struggled with that. Some of the extensions we've done got delayed because we couldn't get the steels made. Concrete has been a major issue for us as well. Some of the prices has risen up to 75%, some even above 100% for some materials. And the last 3 points is probably the biggest concern. It's harder to make money if you're a builder, because there's only so much money for an investor. For trades to then make money, they either need to put their labor costs up, and obviously the material cost has gone up. And in order to keep their prices down, like I said before, some of the guys that are less experienced, let's call them less experienced tradesmen, they cut massive corners. Like I said, we've seen people take chimneys out without taking any concern for health and safety. And then obviously for sourcing, it's harder to stack deals. It's that difficult to quote in this current climate. We've got some, especially electricians and plumbers that we use. If we ask them to quote, the quote only stands for about 4 hours, and then that, as you know, we've got to say yay or nay for that quote in about 4 hours. It's absolutely crazy. So competition for sourcing is also a lot harder because there's no stamp duty. Well, that's coming to an end as well, but there's that many people that want to buy. So to find deals off market has become harder. To buy deals from letting agents, from estate agents has become more difficult. We've seen people buying houses for £30,000 and above, sometimes above the asking price. And I'm sitting back and I'm thinking, why are you doing that? And because a lot of people are buying too quick, they're not doing their due diligence on builders, and they need a job done for a certain price. We've walked off a couple of jobs now where investors came to us and say, you need to do a job. So a buy-to-let refurb, before COVID, we could do a buy-to-let refurb very easy for £26,000. But at the moment, with everything happening, we're closer to £45,000. Now, we know that doesn't stack for any investor. I mean, you can't put that much money into a buy-to-let refurb. So like I said, the trades, and they are a species to themselves. If we don't say yes within 4 hours for certain trades, the price will go up. Even rubbish removal has become a concern for us. To dump rubbish before was a very simple and easy and cheap part of the job, but even now that's become more expensive. The last 2 weeks or so, believe it or not, we've had a fuel shortage. And what that has meant is that trades don't want to travel. It has put the timeline on projects that much further. It's incredible. Now, I've got an example here of a job that or everything that I've just spoken about has got, on the photographs, it looks okay. But I can tell you, when I first went to look at this house, this was the perfect example of an investor that couldn't get to the house and he had to rely on the sourcing agent. And can I just say that it's not a student from what do you guys call Freedom Empire? So it's not one of you guys. It's unfortunately one of the other educational people around. We had to change the carpets. We had to replaster some of the walls. As you can see, the bedroom, 2 bedrooms, the pictures I've got up there, has had, we had to put wallpaper up just to hide some of the imperfections on the walls. If you look at the shower, and this middle shower there, that was, as you can see, they didn't tile all the way up to the ceiling for some other reason. What they've done is they've left the top part of the tiles open. And what that meant is, if you above 6 foot or 1.65, 1.7 meters tall, if you have a shower and you wash your hair, then water will get in behind the tiles, which means moisture is going to get in, which means the plasterboard is going to get damaged, which means you're going to get mold, and all the tiles will need to come off eventually, which just adds to cost. If guys, this shows you in the kitchen, they didn't plan the kitchen out right, so they've had to put the cooker, the oven, apart from the hob in order to make sure that it can open up. If they just jigged it around a little bit, they could have done this a lot easier, and they could have fit it in there. And when you walk into the house, it doesn't look right. And like I said, the type of carpets they put in there it was the cheapest carpets ever, and it just didn't look right. But there is a silver lining, because the investor was told that this is going to be an HMO, and this doesn't fall into an HMO area. And he was going to make, with 4 rooms, he would have made around about £400 a month. I went in there, and unfortunately I had to say to the gentleman that it's not in an HMO area. The house isn't up to a standard where it will rent, unfortunately. However, we did come up with a much better solution, and we turned the house into serviced accommodation. Unfortunately, even though he's done a refurb, he had to spend some money to get the house up to standard. But because he's done that, he's now earning at least £800 a month that he takes home. Because what we've done is, because everything we do here is in-house, we could turn this into service accommodation, so Airbnb type of stuff. And this house is an absolute favorite with people. It's been fully booked for the last 3 months, and as it goes at the moment, we are fully booked up almost up to December already. So I'm very pleased with how this turned out, this house. Is it worth investing? Well, I personally think so, because with any obstacle, there are solutions. This house is another house that we've done in the student quarter here in Stoke-on-Trent. This house had to be done on budget, this refurb. So what we've done is, as you can see, the walls, we've used pallet wood to put it on walls, because what that meant is, because there was a chimney that we took out, we didn't have to plaster, we didn't have to do anything other than just build a frame around the wall and stick these timbers on there. Now, I do get it that this sort of a look, it's not for everybody, but it looks good, and it does save on money. Because, sorry, let me just go back, because this timbers it's not expensive. So how do we overcome problems then for people? So we're very realistic with investors as to when we can start a project and when it will finish. All trades are put on it. We give them a timeline. We call it a Gantt chart, and we say, right, your start date is, let's just say, the 4th of October, and you have to finish your first fix or second fix or whatever by the 10th. If you don't do that, we apply liquidated damages to all our trades, and then we'll agree a price with them as to how much money we will deduct. Normally, it's a day's labor, because what that means is that if they go over by 2 or 3 days, there's enough money in the pot that we could get somebody else in to come and help speed up the project so we could get back on track. And trades absolutely hate that. But because we enforce that, our project stays on track all the time. Sometimes there are issues, especially now. Like I said, sometimes we do have issues with supplies. Sometimes we do need to use outside professionals like architects, structural surveyors, people like that, and then we need to wait on calculations or drawings, and that sometimes delay things a little bit for us. Because we've been in the game for that long, we have built up very, very good relationships with a lot of suppliers, which means that when we go in there, they trust us, they know who we are, and we can negotiate a better price with them. And this next house is, so that very first picture I showed you, that's this kitchen in here. We've managed to get this house done from scratch. This was a 2-bedroom house. We've turned into a 4-bedroom HMO, also in the student quarter. And this only took us 9 weeks, because we were realistic with the investor. We had all the trades lined up, and from start to this point, now we're just waiting on the investor to get the dressings done. So, but you guys now see this as unedited photographs. There's no Photoshop in there. Because well, I've got to say that because I took the photographs, so it just looks amazing as it is. So, and also, what you'll see is we also used these timbers, these pallet wood in all the rooms. So, whoops, this is what the en-suites look like. We use this type of cladding because what this does is it interlinks with one another, and it allows no moisture to get in behind, which helps an awful lot. Well, personally, we quite like the look. Most of our clients or tenants that move into these properties really like these looks. As you can see there again, we've done that, and we used wallpaper. That helps speed up the process. This here is an ensuite for this room. This room does not have an ensuite. The other thing that we also do to save on cost is to build these desks, because that is scaffolding board, but it's old scaffolding boards that we put on the walls and use for desks. Now, it doesn't matter what sort of party this student's going to throw in this room, this desk will be there forever and ever, because that's not going to break. And the longevity, as I just said, the longevity is endless. And from here, we can do all sorts of designs, further designs from that. So on material costs, what we do is we negotiate and negotiate and negotiate. And then if that doesn't work, we just negotiate some more. We get quotes from one place, take it to somewhere else, see if we can negotiate, see if they can match that price or make it better, and then take that quote and go somewhere else. Obviously, that takes time, but we manage to keep the costs down. So a project like this, in this current market, because everything in here is high-end, you've got these oak veneer doors, which are quite expensive. So on the current climate conditions, a refurb like this will be close to about £90,000, but we've managed to bring this in at under £75,000 for that 4-bedroom house. It's good quality carpets. It's somebody's calling in. No, I'm joking. So it's good quality carpets. It's good quality furniture that's gone in. We've made sure that the landlord buys good furniture. So the longevity of everything that's in there, it will be quite some time before there's any maintenance issues in there. And then, sometimes it does happen that we've got too much work on and we need trades. So what we then do is, because we've got trades that we trust, we put them through the John Sale test, which is our in-house builder. He knows quite a lot about building work and what needs to be required, and to punch out a high-end product. So if they meet his standards, we know that these guys are good to go. And then sometimes we use them, and that's what I mean by networking here. So we use them to give us referrals for more trades, and then we test them out and see how we can go from there. Also, like I said, we try and use materials that are cheaper. So just to help bring costs down. Like I said, for trades we use the John Sale test to keep costs down. We negotiate and negotiate and negotiate just all the time. And because John knows that much, it's easier to negotiate because he knows what to say to them in order to get their prices down. And I think this is the big thing. Like I said, all trades are on a contract with us. We don't make any payments until the snagging is finished. And it doesn't matter how many times we need to go back, it's got to get done. And if they go back a second time and they still haven't done it to the standard that we want them to do it, we just get somebody else in that we know can do the job better. And that gets deducted from their price. So like I said, nobody wants to have money deducted from their wages. So we tend to get a better and a good product for our investors. So that's it. I hope that was insightful. It's been it's one of those where we really try and help with lettings specifically, especially during these times with COVID. We've seen a lot of influx with cannabis around Stoke-on-Trent, where people will rent a house, turn it into a cannabis farm, absolutely wreck the place. We had a poor landlord, just did a refurb, somebody moved in. When we did our 6-month inspection, the guy just disappeared. But when we went in, he turned it into a cannabis farm. He absolutely wrecked the whole house. And the guy had to spend more money to get the house right. So, but we do. So what we had to do is make sure that the way we vet people, the checks that we do is a bit more in depth to try and eliminate these sort of issues. So yeah, that's it.
You smash that one out of the park, Peter. I think this is the first time I've ever spoken to you where you've only taken 30 minutes. So I was expecting it to be a lot longer.
No.
Is that a common response you get?
It is. No, that's a very common response.
No, that's brilliant. I think what's really nice about your presentation and your company, and actually I know you, and as I said, I knew you through your old company as well, didn't I? So yeah. I'm loving the new branding. It looks great, very colourful.
Thank you.
But the good thing about you is, of course, you do have your finger in lots of pies, which allows you to be able to give a really broad view of what's going on right now. And you made some really good points about, project management, materials, actually sourcing deal opportunities that are viable right now. So is it okay if I ask you a few questions, and to the audience as well, if you do have any questions, feel free to pop them in the chat box. We do have a few coming through. So we've got one from Mike here, and Mike's asking, are you adding the fourth leg of finance to your group? Are you going to become the bank, Peter?
We thought about that, and it is 100%, because like I said before, we want to have HYPE HQ, which because people were looking to hot desk, is to have that. But then one of the things were to have a broker, our own in-house broker, and to have finance. Yeah, okay. Definitely.
Fantastic. That's great. So we look forward to hearing about the progression of that extra leg. But in terms of a few questions, so you mentioned about materials, of course, being a lot more expensive and specific materials as well. Just for the audience and for their preparation when they're doing their numbers, what percentage would you say that materials have actually risen over the last 12 months as a result of COVID and lack of supplies, etc.?
Do you know, I want to say above 100%, but obviously that's not true. But it is. But the reason I want to say that is because it's been that difficult, and it takes that long to get a good price, and just to stick within the relevant or in the boundaries of the investor's budget. So it's just. I would say comfortably, I would say 65%.
Above what they were originally
correct
calculating.
We used to be able to buy scaffold boards for about £5 new. It's now 22.50 new. Do you see what I mean? Yeah. Concrete. We used to get it for like £3 a bag. It's now almost £9 a bag. So it's timber has gone up. Even the roofer is. Let's call it a debate, shall we, rather than an argument, because he wants to charge me £120 to go and put a couple of tiles right on the house, and I'm like, you're only going to get up your ladder. You're going to be there 10 minutes. Why is the investor paying £120 for 10 minutes? Do you see what I mean? It's just constant negotiations all the time, rather than just accept the quote for what it is.
Yeah.
I had the same thing yesterday. We've got a flood in the basement, got the drainage company out. They charged me for 2 hours. And I asked them, why are you charging me for 2 hours? Oh, no, because they were there for 2 hours. I said, no, they were not. He says, look, we've got a tracker in our van, and they were there for 2 hours. I said, I'll tell you what, you come to my office, I'll show you the CCTV. They were there for an hour. Yeah. All of a sudden, they were very happy to make work. Do you see what I mean? So it's just constantly negotiating for our investors.
I mean, what I'm seeing locally to me is I'm getting quotes, and because of the amount of deals that I'm doing at the moment, and I only have 2 build teams locally, I'm having to get in different teams to be able to take on the workload. And as a result of that, what I'm seeing is a lot of the time you would normally get, a job quote. But what I'm seeing from a lot of the builders now that I'm interviewing and going through the due diligence phase is they won't give you a job quote. They will only give you a labour, and then you've got to source. They will source the materials for you, but that's an additional and completely separate. Which over the last 10 years, predominantly, it would be parts and labor, materials and labor, job quote, and it's done. But a lot of them now are refusing to do that. And I think it's as a result of, obviously, the materials being so unpredictable and difficult to get hold of, and projects taking longer because they're waiting on something which is holding a whole project up. As a result of that as well, we've seen builders that have jumped from one job to another because they're waiting on a specific materials for this particular job because there's been delays. Then they've started another job, which then delays their original job again and again. So we're seeing a lot of that as well.
You see, one of the other things we're looking at is because everybody wants to buy an HMO because the cash flow is great.
Yeah.
We then took a step back and said, right, investor to buy a house. You can buy a house in Stoke-on-Trent, let's say a 3-4 bed house for £160,000.
Yeah.
But for Stoke, that's a lot.
Yeah.
The houses that are cheap or cheaper is 2-bed terraced houses. So 2-bed terraced houses you can still pick up for between £60,000 and £70,000 easy. But then what we want to do is, and we're sort of working with an architect at the moment, and that's to turn a 2-bed house into a 5-bed HMO, all en suite. So the refurb cost on that is going to be between £100,000 and £110,000. but the purchase price is only £60,000.
Yeah.
Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
So now you've got a full functioning HMO, where a 5-bed HMO, where you would have had only bought the house and then you still had to do the refurb after.
Yeah.
So so once we're ready with that, I'll let you know.
Yeah.
And maybe
Brilliant. Well,
that's something we can.
You can upload your deals to Premier Investment Vault, and then all of our viewers will be able to see them.
Yeah.
So just on the HMO side of it, because Stoke has been quite hard affected in terms of student accommodation, hasn't it? So I don't know whether it's recovered now, but I know that 6 or 7 months ago, I had another sourcing agent which operates in Stoke, which was having real issues in terms of letting the properties out as a result of the students not being around. And then, of course, Brexit. Yep. A lot of the clientele in Stoke tended to be, well, what they found anyway, tended to be, Eastern European workers that have now gone back as a result of Brexit. And so how are you seeing any change? Are you seeing people coming back to the HMOs now, or are you just targeting a different audience?
And again, for the business, it's helping investors. So if they've got a struggling HMO, we suggest to turn it into a serviced accommodation house, because the setup was already there. So it's going to be minimal cost to turn it into serviced accommodation. And then you can potentially earn the same or even more as you would have had with your HMO. In our clientele for the HMOs, we've got obviously professionals and students. What we did find is that we've got 2 universities here with us. We've got Keele Uni and Stafford University. Keele University released all their dates of when the classes are starting, when they want the students to be there, all in time. So all our properties in Newcastle got filled straight off the bat. However, with the Stoke houses, we really struggled because the staff's uni just did not let the students know when they have to be here. Now what we're getting is, we are now fielding calls left, right, and centre because people want houses, where we were starting to come up with different ideas of how to fill these properties for investors, but rather than students have professionals in there. A house that I thought we're never going to rent is now full with students, and it's all international guys. That's coming through. So I think it's fair to say that just before the summer holidays, we were running at 93% occupancy rate.
Yeah.
And we actually got to a point where we were going to be a letting agent with nothing to let, because everything was going to be full. So now we're at about 82%. But I'm very confident that come December, all the rooms, we'll be back well above 90 again, just because Staff's Uni is finally releasing their dates out. So
brilliant. Yeah. Okay, great. So you kind of read it out. Samuel's asked a question here. Do you expect the cost of refurbishment to come back down in the near future? I suppose this is an opinion, but what's your opinion on that?
Our prediction was that come July, all the crappy builders is going to be out of the market, and they're going to come knocking at our doors saying, "Can we have work, please?" And we estimated that didn't happen. Now we're thinking we moved it on to December. We were hoping that things will be normal in December, but now you throw things in, fuel shortages in the mix, that just adds to the problem. So I don't know. I think it's the honest answer. Yeah.
I mean, Samuel, if I was to give my opinion on that, and of course we can only give my opinion as well, as Peter can, but I would say I don't expect it to come down anytime soon. Just seeing how busy the builders are and the lack of suppliers and the lead time on projects taking longer, a lot of projects being delayed and a lot of development being delayed, I don't see the prices coming down anytime soon. It's supply and demand, isn't it? And at the moment, the demand far outweighs the supplies, which is what's pushing prices up. That's simple rules. You can actually apply that method to any business. It doesn't matter what it is. So I personally don't see it coming down anytime soon. It's definitely going to continue to be high, in my opinion, throughout the rest of this year, and I suspect into the first and second quarter of next. We may start seeing it stabilize then, and actually people catching up, and but no, I don't see it coming down anytime soon. So I definitely add that extra buffer. So we always put 20% contingency in place, but now we're actually putting the 20% contingency plus an extra 25% on top of our material costs.
And the other thing also, but I haven't verified this, but I've heard it from many different places. So, but please don't take this as gospel. I've heard that America is trying to build their way out of their financial issues. So, and most of their houses gets built with timber. Yeah. So they are buying timber left, right, and center from everywhere. And like I said, I haven't verified this, but it would make sense why all of a sudden there's just this massive shortage of timber everywhere. And when you do find it, it costs an arm and a leg. Yeah. So.
Right. So great session, Pieter. So it's always a pleasure to have you on my virtual sofa. And it's always good fun to speak to you. And you always have a great insight into your world, which is our world as well, which is fantastic.
Yeah.
But I'm going to say thank you ever so much for your session. And I'm going to, everybody can say thank you to a virtual thank you to Pieter for his session.
Thank you, everybody.
Of course.
And to the people in South Africa, julle mense moet my 'n likeie gee. Ek is hier so, ek help julle graag. Enige tyd, bel my, ons help graag.
Brilliant. Oh, that's great. We actually do have a very large South Africa following. I unfortunately don't know what you just said. I don't know whether that's a good thing or not. I'm not going to ask you what you said. We'll keep it to the South African audience for now. But no, I'm going to say thank you, Pieter. Absolute pleasure. Anybody that wants to get in contact with Pieter can either go through HYPE or come through to us, and we'll make sure that you get together. Pieter, of course, will talk to you about sourcing in Stoke, and can be a great source for deals for you. We are getting him to upload his deals on Premier Investment Vault as well, so you'll be able to see them there. But no, I'm going to say thank you, Pieter. Enjoy the rest of your Friday, and I'm going to jump onto my market update.
Brilliant. Thanks, guys.
Everybody saying thank you in the chat box, and that they really enjoyed your session, super creative and things like that. So
thanks, guys.
Really well done. Thank you very much. Bye, Pieter.
Thanks, bye.
Bye. Right, so what we're going to do now is I'm going to jump on to my market update. And if you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the chat box. We do have an in-depth market update for you, and some headlines. There are actually some more that came through this morning, and I haven't had a chance to put them into the session, but perhaps I may have chance at the end if we don't run over too much to kind of fill you in. But I'm going to jump off camera and get started. House price index then, headlines here. So the national average price of property coming to the market hits a new all-time high. So yes, prices have continued to rise, but they have been rising much slower and have slowed down massively. So only rising by 0.3% in September. So to put this into perspective, this translates to only £15 higher than the previous record set in July. And the reason we're missing August out is because, of course, we dropped slightly in August, but that was a blip due to holiday seasons, which is actually what we normally expect, and we've spoken about many times with historical data. So we would normally see a slowdown of activity in the marketplace around the summer holidays. So it's actually, what does this mean? So what it means is really it's showing signs that the prices are now stabilizing in the market. So that being said, we are still in the hottest ever competition to buy, with buyers' demand per property for sale more than double the pre-pandemic levels. And of course, this is mainly due to the lack of supply. The supply of properties has been the lowest available stock recorded. We are seeing early signs of a better balanced autumn market, with more homes coming up for sale to help with the buyer's choice and also the sheer lack of supply of available stock. The number of new listings in the first 2 weeks of September is actually up by 14%, and that's great news. Again, we're talking about this balance of supply and demand. So that's up 14% higher than the last 2 weeks of August. This is, of course, as I said, great news and key indicators that the market is leveling out and stabilizing, aka slowing down. On a regional level, just to give you analytical people out there and statistic people that want actual numbers, I'll give you a few percentages on the different regions in the UK and how they've performed. So we have Scotland up at 1.9% on a monthly increase. We have North East down at 0.1%, so that market dropped by 0.1%. York and the Humber dropped by 0.3%. East Midlands is up by 2.4%. East of England is up by 0.9%. London is actually up. Great news for London at 0.4%. South East is up by 1.2%. Northwest is down by 0.5%. West Midlands is up by 0.6%. Wales is down by 1.5%. And lastly, the Southwest is up by 0.7%. So you can see we're actually seeing changes in our micro areas of the UK. Different areas are performing better than others. Some are dropping, some are still continuing to rise, but the pace of the increase or rise is actually slowing down. So that's good news. So that's on the sales market. Let's have a quick look at the rental side. So Arla Property Mark has issued its August private rented sector report, which shows demand from tenants continuing to rise as rental stock actually fall. Again, supply and demand. So headlines from that report were number of new prospective tenants was highest figure on record at 107 people per branch. The number of tenants experiencing rent increases in August broke record highs for the second month in a row at 79%. And the number of properties managed per branch fell in August by 196. So demand from tenants. The average number of new prospective tenants registered per branch jumped in August by 107 from July's figures of 102. This is the highest figure ever recorded for the second month running and surpasses last month's previous record, when the number of prospective tenants registered per branch was 102. Prior to this, all-time records was during August 2020, when the figures stood at 101. Rent prices then. So the number of tenants experienced rent increases jumped significantly for the second month in a row in August, as 79% of agents saw landlords increasing their rents compared to 71% of them in July. This is the highest rate increase on record, beating the previous records of 68% in May this year for the second month running. So Property Mark CEO Nathan Emerson, I think I'm pronouncing that right, commented, The continued increase in demand from tenants, coupled with the decrease in amount of rental stock available, means we are seeing an increase in rent prices for the second month running. The private rented sector provides homes for approximately 5 million UK households, and it is vital the service being provided by the landlords is recognised. With the increasing pressure, more landlords need to be incentivised into the market sector. He also says, we are looking forward to meeting the newly appointed Secretary of State and his team over the coming months to ensure keeping the rent flowing is high on the department's agenda going forward. And we have a close eye on the overall sector for the rest of this year, as the growing concern over house buyers jumping ship from buying and selling market is bound to put extra pressure on the private rental sector. So from a rental side, we are seeing rents increase. We're seeing more activity in the letting markets. Occupancy levels are higher than ever. And I have a management and lettings agency, and I can tell you that's very much the case. We are super busy, and it is manic with many tenants fighting for the accommodation that we have available, and less landlords actually bringing their properties to the market for rent. And this could be down to the new renters reform. It could be down to a lot of people coming out of the market. We have some internationals as a result of the additional stamp duty charges, and of course the question mark around Section 21s and what's going to happen with that, and the question mark over longer term tenancies, etc. We do have a lot of landlords and investors looking to just get out of that market and perhaps trade in property rather than become landlords. So be interested to hear what your thoughts are in the chat box on that. I'm still very much buying. I'm still very much in the market to rent, although we do look at obviously other strategies as well. I have no plans on stopping being a landlord, and I still very much focus on cash flow. So as I said, pop in the chat box. What are you feeling right now with all of the new changes and the uncertainty in the market, house prices being so high, so much competition, and all of the red tape and the new rental reform that's coming in? So for those of you that are looking at commercial to residential, very hot topic right now. Those of you that like the idea of the PD schemes, there are new rules making it easier for commercial buildings to be converted into residential high street homes that have come into force. As part of the government's plans designed to revitalise the UK's high streets, it's now possible to transform an unused commercial building such as a former shop or cafe into a home without going through a lengthy planning application first. According to recent research from the estate agents Keller Williams, the demise of the UK's rental industry, speeded up by the pandemic, has left many premises empty, with the potential to provide nearly 25,000 homes to a market value of 7.4 billion. It's not to be sniffed at, is it really? Housing Secretary Robert Jenrick said the new rules, which were announced in the spring but came into force on the 1st of August, would help support the creation of much needed homes, while also revitalising England's cherished high streets and town centres. He predicts the move will encourage more people to live near local high streets and, as a result, come to the area for work and leisure, boasting town centres back into the rightful place of the heart of their communities. The new rules means homes would get the green light through a simple prior approval process, although there will still be rules in place to ensure properties offer adequate natural light and meet strict space regulations, etc. So unused commercial buildings must have, of course, been vacant for 3 months before the date an application is logged for change of use. And the rules apply to buildings of 5,000 square meters of floor space or less. While the relaxation of planning laws means less red tape when it comes to converting a property, a prudent approach is still crucial to your commercial property conveyancing obligations. Always check is very much the message. Don't just assume you can do commercial to residential under PD, because many councils are refusing to approve the new scheme and are putting their own local slant on what they want to happen, aka to us, restrictions or refusals for developers, which overall is complicated and prolonging the process, which is exactly what the government was wanting to get away from or wanting to avoid. This will be looked at again, and I think new rules again will come into place very soon. So watch this space, and we will, of course, keep you updated on that. We have seen, though, through Planning Portal, a 45% increase in planning applications being submitted. Statistics published by the Department of Levelling Up Housing and Communities, so that's DLUHC, show that 128,400 applications were submitted to the district level planning authorities in England seeking planning permission between April and June 2021. And in Wales, we have planning and historic environment law set to be simplified, which is great news. So the Welsh Government has launched a new programme to simplify planning and historic environment law, which is all part of a long-term project to create codes of Welsh law. So I suppose the moral of this section, or the moral of this story, is do not assume, never ever assume, always check with planning or an independent planning consultant before legally committing yourself to any deal if you are looking at commercial to residential. So strictly with PD, or sticking with PD, let's say, for a moment here, those of you may have already seen that we had Searchland on recently, and I'll touch base on that in a minute. But Searchland has launched a new tool for permitted development sites. So for those of you that wasn't on my session with you a few months ago, it's on our YouTube channel if you want to go back and have a look, and that's Your Freedom Empire YouTube channel. Also, you can actually take advantage of Searchland free trial, a demo, and also a discount if you're coming through Your Freedom Empire. So for those of you that would like to find out more about that, and I'll tell you a little bit about the site now for those of you that didn't watch that session, send us an email to admin@Your Freedom Empire, pop in the subject box, Searchland, free trial / demo, and we can sort all of that out for you. But Searchland is used by developers, basically, developers, investors, architects, and anyone else looking for sites to develop on. It layers sources of data from land ownership and boundaries to planning permissions and prices paid on top of satellite images and maps with search functionalities. It's actually really, really good and really useful to us as developers. The new upgrade, though, to its software, to the platform, makes it quicker and easier for users to find sites that have PD rights. So this means certain buildings, works and change of use can be carried out without the need for full planning application. So PD rights, of course, were introduced by the government as part of its target to ensure 300 new homes were added to the national housing stock every year. The government says that in the 5 years to March 2020, change of use PD rights created 72,687 new homes. PD rights are designed to temporarily, whether they're designed to be temporarily, I suppose is temporary is the message I'm trying to give. But it's allowing the government to correct imbalances in the marketplace. For instance, in the case of Class MA, this PD right is an attempt to take brownfield stock from failing high streets and convert into much needed residential properties. Searchlands aims to increase the number of developers accessing PD sites and in turn boost housing or house builders activity in order to help the UK's housing crisis. Its Class MA permitted development tool currently has 27,599 opportunities that are pre-identified for you to have a look at. The upload comes as Searchland continues to break grounds in its mission to disrupt with their site. And I for one, absolutely love their site. So Searchland's PD tool works across, or works by cross-referencing a range of data sets, including use class, planning constraints, internal measurements to identify sites that meet predefined criteria. It automates and thereby signifies, accelerates developers. It basically reduces the amount of time that we have to spend searching for potential site that meets our criteria. So check it out. And as I said, if you want a free demo or you want access to a free trial or you want to actually just sign up, we can actually get you a discount if you come through Your Freedom Empire, and just pop an email to admin at Your Freedom Empire with Searchland demo/trial in the subject box. Another or unrelated thing to be aware of, quite surprised about this news, to be honest. So we all know about Japanese knotweed, and we all know about the impact it could have on us as an investor, and how to handle that. But reports have shown an increase of 28% growth in the UK of Japanese knotweed cases arising in just over 5 years. Studies reveal findings from 49 UK environmental authorities, including worst affected areas. The invasion of the plant species was originally imported into Britain from Japan back in the 19th century. And this was really used when engineers thought that it would stabilize and beautify railway embankments. It has spread like wildfire. It is a very, very invasive weed, and it is something that you need to be aware of. And more than 29,000 confirmed cases and growing in the UK each year. So that's how significant it is. So according to home buyer surveys, 4 in 5 would walk away, people would walk away from a property that's affected by Japanese knotweed. Let me know in the chat box if you would handle a property with Japanese knotweed or not, and your thoughts around that. And of those of you who consider purchasing a property with Japanese knotweed invasion, almost 2/3 of buyers would expect at least a 5 to 10% discount on an expected sale price. 1 in 12 have never even heard of Japanese knotweed. Which is quite shocking, really. But perhaps the most worrying thing is that nearly half, 47%, didn't recognise Japanese knotweed from a lineup of different plants. And analysts show that 29,536 confirmed cases in the UK show the regions with the largest growth is in live cases over the last 5 years. So, other news, moving on from Japanese knotweed and that sorry affair. Excuse me. The government on the 24th of April announced a new 150 million help to build scheme, which is designed to make it easier and more affordable for people to develop their own homes. According to estimates provided by the government, a self-custom build could deliver 30 to 40,000 new homes a year. I believe it's currently at about £10,000, 10,000 people that build their own homes. But the government is looking to increase that by introducing this help to build. So I think personally that this is extremely ambitious, I personally wouldn't want to build my own home. So that's just my own personal opinion. It's not, it's not an aspiration of mine. It's not something I'm quite happy to work with a property and make it beautiful and do it as my own home. But actually, it's an aspiration of many people that are out there. I've probably only one time in my life met one person that's actually asked me to help them find land so that they could build their own home. Predominantly, we look at land as development sites for our business and less so as our homes. But it's really quite popular, especially in Europe, Germany, and the percentage of people that build their own homes is much, much higher than that in the UK. So what the government is trying to do is take control away from the 10 main house builders. And they want to be able to give individuals the opportunity to build their own home. Of course, have brought this new scheme in place to help encourage more people to do that. So increase from the current 10,000 people that are building their own homes in the UK to 30 to 40,000. And so for those of you that are aspiring to build your own home, there's definitely help out there. And if you want to find out more about that, feel free to email us, and I'm sure we can give you some statistics, data, and links to get you started. So in summary then, and to kind of wrap up now, because we are running a little bit over, our summary update is, excuse me, we have signs of the market stabilizing, which is great news, and price growth slowing down. So we're not seeing drops everywhere. We are seeing drops in some areas, but what we are seeing throughout the UK is that the pace of price increase is dropping dramatically. So that is fantastic news. We are seeing, we've had rents rising and tenant demand rising, that coupled with less and less properties coming to the market for rent. Again, imbalance of supply and demand, rents are likely to continue to rise. We've seen Japanese knotweed on the rise too. And a huge question mark around the future of the new PD scheme and local council planning departments complicating what was supposed to be a simplified process. So I think actually that's enough for this month's update. If you do have any questions, please feel free to pop them in the question box. But I'm going to jump back on camera now. And I'm going to say, I can see loads of questions coming through, but actually we've answered them. So which area is Peter working in? So we've got a question here from Claus, which is asking what area Peter's working in. Peter is in Stoke. So if you want to reach out to him, he's a sourcing agent, but of course he has many arms to his business under HYPE. They have their build team, they have project management, and they have lettings and management as well. So very good guy, and actually, came through training through a large training organisations 10 plus years ago. It must be that long, and has continued to really break ground in the industry. And so, bit of a live wire, and never serious, but good at what he does, and very good contact for you to have, Claus. So I can't see any questions that I haven't already answered. So I'm going to say thank you ever so much for today's session. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I am just going to quickly, before you all jump off, tell you about our next Property Success Convention. There is actually quite a few of you that are on the call that I've recognised names that are already registered for this. So we are actually doing this live and virtual. So we will be live in class in person, and our doors are open. So for those of you in the UK that would like to come and join us live and sit in our classroom, meet us in person, person, we would love that. So come along. Our Property Success Convention, we have changed dramatically. So for those of you that have already attended, we are actually doing things differently. So it may be worth you actually registering and coming along and attending again. I'm quite sure that we will be delivering different content, and it will be content that you haven't seen before. So if you are interested, get registered. It's a 2-day event. As I said, if you are international and you want to join virtually, or if you're UK and you're not quite comfortable to sit in a classroom just now, we do have limited spaces in the classroom, so you don't have to worry about social distancing and things like that. We're still being very cautious with all of that type of stuff, so we do put a maximum of a very small maximum of people together in the classroom. So there are quite a few places still left to go. And so for those of you that would like to attend live, please do get in contact. You can do that through our website, or you can do it through the link that's on the screen right now. Okay, but really it's anything about properties. So we talk about market cycles, we talk about, obviously for those of you that are international, we talk about currency fluctuations, we talk about structure, we talk about finance, we talk about research. How do you implement research? What research do we have to focus on? We talk about the different strategies. So it's a very, very in-depth and jam-packed 2 days. So if you know anybody that wants to learn about property, that's definitely the event that they should attend. So I of course, on Sky 191, as part of the expert panel for property question time. We have a few different episodes coming up. I actually don't have the dates in front of me, so keep an eye out on our social media, Your Freedom Empire, and you will see the next episodes that are going out live. We also put all of the episodes onto our YouTube channel as well, so you will be able to watch the replay if you don't have Sky, or if you miss the session. But it's always awesome guests, always great questions, and always a really good show. So again, just keeping abreast of everything that's going on and getting the opinion of experts within the area across various different fields. It's a really, really good show for you to watch. That's normally on a Tuesday or a Thursday, and it will either be aired at 8 p.m. or 8:30 p.m. UK time. And of course, we do a free consultation call as well. For those of you that are, you may be in the industry, you may be looking for further support, you may just want to talk through a specific situation that you're in, or a problem that you're experiencing. It's very much a free consultation call. There is no upsell or anything like that. It's been very popular, which is why we've continued to actually do this. But if you would like to book a call with me or one of the experts within Your Freedom Empire to talk about anything that you would like or see as value for you, then feel free to book a call in with us. You can do that through our website again, off the Education Hub. In the options menu, you can automatically book into our diary. And of course, these webinars are for you. So we want to know what you would like us to deliver. It's very much a free webinar. It's going to be forever free. And it's really out there for people to keep abreast of what's going on. Of course, we will always have the market update. But if you would like a specific guest or a specific topic covering off during the session, please email us to admin@yourfreedomempire.com. And let us know what topic you'd like to cover. And also, if you have any questions at all, you can use that admin@yourfreedomempire and send any questions through to us, and we can answer them on the next session. So just in case you can't join us live. Of course, for those, we actually have quite a lot of people that watch the replay on YouTube, which is fine. There's no issues with that. It's fantastic. We love that you're engaging with us and you're on our site. But for those of you that can't watch live, it doesn't mean that you can't get your questions answered. Send them through to us and we will make sure that we cover them off during the session. And it's Friday, which means pizza. I think I'm going to have a glass of wine tonight as well, perhaps even a bottle. It's been one of those weeks. But it is a rainy day here in Birmingham. And I watched the James Bond movie yesterday. I'm not going to spoil anything, but yes, if you haven't watched it, definitely watch it if you're a James Bond fan. But yes, I'm not going to go spoiler alert or anything like that, but I'm going to have my pizza this evening. I'm going to enjoy family night, watch another movie, play some pool, and I'm going to wish you all a fantastic Friday, an awesome weekend, and I will see you again on the next show, which will be, let me just grab that date up for you. The next show will be on Friday, the 5th of November. Oh, Guy Fawkes Day. We may have to. No, that should be good. Actually, we'll do a Guy Fawkes special. So I will see you all next month. Stay safe, stay positive, and stay active. And remember, knowledge is power. Attitude is everything, but action is key. So if you want anything from us, reach out. We're always here. And I'm going to say goodbye for now. Bye all.